Anchor's up. Sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing pretty well. How are you doing today, Jared?
We just did our mid-season report card for Ohio State on the Monday episode. So if you haven't seen that yet, or if you haven't listened to that yet, I highly recommend that. That was a lot of fun. It was, listen, spoiler alert, it was mostly positive. It was very positive. I think Ohio State's doing great. But they had this week off. So we have a lot of games. Actually, in all, you missed the football category. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, fullback. Fullbacks are tight ends. It's 2022. Get over it. I was about to say that we have a lot of games to talk about, but that's a lie. I think that's a lie. Because a lot of teams, not just Ohio State, a lot of teams had bye weeks this week. So we don't necessarily have a ton of games to get to, but we do have a ton of questions. We have a bunch of questions to get to, and our tier list after a pretty crazy week, a lot of rank on ranks. So I think our tier list probably needs a lot of maintenance. So let's go ahead and let's start talking about these games, and then we'll get to the tier list, and then we'll get to the questions, and then we'll play the Ohio Weather Band, and then the show will be over.
All right. Sound like a plan.
I'm just like a novel. I give a chapter list at the beginning.
All right, let's start from the top here. First, I guess it's kind of odd saying this here, but it's our first of the week. Team Chaos takes another soul here. Oklahoma over ranked Kansas, 52-42.
Listen, it's a fun day. It's a fun day when you can say that Oklahoma upset Kansas. And could someone please drop a new GIF so that one scrolls out? I would appreciate it. That's I guess that's a big win for Oklahoma. It's a big comeback for they're going to do the thing, Kyle, where they just don't listen to me, and now no one's going to type any. Okay, there. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. Oklahoma. I guess they needed a bit of a bounce back game. They've had a couple rough weeks, and they get to upset Kansas's season, I guess. Weird times.
I guess
2022 is a weird ass year, man.
Yeah. Well, this was my pick of a unranked team beating a ranked team here. So I got some more points there, Jared.
Wow. I haven't hit on one of those yet.
No, you haven't. All right. Illinois Fighting Birds, Jared. The Fighting Birds continuing their rampage. Beating Minnesota.
They're in the top 20 now, aren't they? Did they crack Did they crack the top 20? Illinois with this win?
Yeah,
in the AP?
They're 24th. They were 24th.
Yeah, but after the win.
Yeah, before the win, they were 24th, and now they are 18th.
Yeah. Oklahoma upset Kansas because Kansas was the team ranked in the top 20 and not Oklahoma. And now Illinois is in the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah. Minnesota. Yeah. Minnesota has just been injured.
Well,
it's an injured football team here.
They're junk without Eber. Just say it plainly, Kyle. You don't have to dance around it. Without Ibrahim, they're junk.
Well, he did play. And he had himself a good game. 15 rushes for 127 yards. He had himself a pretty good game here. But Morgan, their quarterback, Tanner Morgan, went down.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just not a. Yeah, was that really what the stat was? I knew he didn't do that well, but was that the actual stat he had?
Are you looking it up? Zach says he's 4 for 22 for 45 yards. Are you
4
looking?
for 12. 4 for 12 for 21 yards.
Okay.
And a pick.
Yeah, because he didn't play that much because he got hurt. But yeah, like they get Ibrahim back, and then they lose Tanner Morgan. It's the luck is not with Minnesota this year.
Correct.
Because when they had both of them, they were looking like a pretty solid, Big Ten West team at the beginning of the year. But
yeah, that boat has many, many holes right now.
Kyle, Michigan dominates Penn State. At the end of the first half, the score wouldn't have shown it. But if you were watching the game, like Penn State was insanely lucky. I'll say lucky. Insanely lucky to have been. Yeah, Clifford sucks. He just sucks, no matter. I'm not even going to say he's overrated. He just sucks. Michigan was dominated the first half, even if that didn't show up in the stat sheet. I don't have the number in front of me, but I think at the first half, it was like 18 first downs to 1.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was something crazy like that. And then Michigan finally, fixed their red zone issues, stopped kicking field goals, started scoring touchdowns. And, they eventually took the game over in the second half.
Yep, they did. And with over 400 rushing yards against Penn State.
Yeah.
And at the time, Penn State was a top 10 rushing defense. And yes, before anybody says it in the chat, yes, I know they haven't really played anybody in the year, but still.
You remember when Ohio State
you let up over 400 rushing yards.
Remember when Ohio State beat, I think they were 8-0 Michigan State last year? And everyone's like, "Oh, Ohio State picks up a top 10 win." And we were like, "Yeah, but we understand that this was a pretty okay Big Ten team who was in the top 10, but
no, we're
not really.
We're not going to pull that where all the games are tough in the Big Ten.
No. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm saying last year when Ohio State beat Michigan State, who was a top 10 team, you and I, we were very realistic about the fact that Michigan State, despite being undefeated, wasn't actually all that good.
I mean, look at this year.
I'm just drawing
in Notre Dame.
But that's different because Michigan State was 8-0. And I'm just drawing a parallel between that game and Penn State, who was, I believe, 6-0 coming into this football game.
That's true. I mean,
I'm just drawing a parallel between Ohio State's supposed top 10 victory last year against Michigan State and Penn State and Michigan's supposed top 10 victory over Penn State this year. I didn't want anyone to just be like, "Oh, you're just saying that because it's Michigan." A top 10 team, still a top 10 team. Okay, yeah, but we literally did the same thing when Ohio State trounced Michigan State last year. So it's
just so weird. This Penn State team, just absolutely dominated in every aspect of this game here. This is that same Penn State team that went down south and absolutely destroyed Auburn earlier in the year too.
Auburn's garbage though. FPI S plus perhaps. No Matt, if you have those rankings, drop them in the chat. I'd like to see them.
So then that brings up the question here that no Buckeye fan wants to talk about though. This Michigan team.
Yeah.
How good are they here now that you've seen them against a quality opponent here? Yes, Penn State might not be as great as
they have a pulse
ranked was, but it's still a quality opponent, and they just absolutely had their way with them.
Yeah, a horribly overrated team, but I think Michigan has an excellent stable of running backs. I think they have 2 great running backs. I think I had said a bunch of times that Corum was a pretty okay running back behind a great offensive line. I I no longer think that. I think he's actually like a very good running back. I think Corum is actually a very good running back. I think the Michigan offensive line are tremendous top tier run blockers. I think that they are, if they're tremendous run blockers, I think they're like above average, pretty good pass blockers. I don't think they're anything special from a pass blocking standpoint, but they're also not like bad pass blockers, right? The wide receivers are fine. I think they're fine. JJ McCarthy, I think, is maybe the best quarterback that Michigan has had under Harbaugh. But if I'm being honest, that says a lot more about the other quarterbacks than it does JJ McCarthy, who I think is okay. Again, so that there's he clears a low bar. You want another low bar to clear for JJ McCarthy? I think is it fair to say he's the second best quarterback in the Big Ten right now?
Yeah, it definitely is. And you look at his numbers.
We really need to talk about how low of a bar that is. The Big Ten quarterbacks this year are garbage.
Yeah, it's Stroud, it's McCarthy, and then it's a complete cliff.
It's Stroud, a complete cliff. McCarthy, a complete cliff.
Okay. Let's look at the numbers here, Jared.
No.
McCarthy has thrown for almost 1,300 yards and completed 77% of his passes so far this year.
He's a dink and dunker, though. He's a total dink and dunker. That's like saying JT Barrett had an amazing completion percentage, which he did, by the way. But that was never throwing the ball more than 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. He's a dink and dunker. His completion percentage does nothing for me. Again, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's the second best quarterback in the Big Ten. And I also don't think he would be. He also wouldn't beat out Kyle McCord if they both transferred to the same school next year. He wouldn't beat out Kyle McCord, let alone CJ Stroud.
But one thing about JJ McCarthy though is just his running capability too. Like he's a very, like when he gets out in space, it's hard catching up to him. He's a really quick quarterback. But this is a much more dangerous Michigan team than I'll give credit to the beginning of the year. Jared mentioned it. Offensive line's really good. Their running game has really, really good as well. And McCarthy is doing what he needs to do to get the ball to his playmakers.
Yeah. And the defense, I don't know. We can talk about what Michigan did to Penn State's defense, because I do think Penn State has a lot of talent on the defense. So we can talk about that. We can have that conversation. But as far as Michigan's defense goes against Penn State's offense is terrible. So I don't think this was a good game to evaluate that. I think, quite frankly, you could go look at the Michigan and it was Maryland, right? That they got passed all over. Is that right? Yeah. Spike says, yeah. Like Maryland, especially Tua's out for the year now, I believe. But the Maryland that Michigan played was a much, much better offense than the Penn State offense that Michigan played. The Penn State offense is garbage. Clifford's what happens if you buy JT Barrett off of wish.com. That's it. Like they need to recognize that and go to guys. You got your shit kicked in. Penn State. This is me talking to Penn State fans and maybe coaches. If any coaches are watching, and no coaches are watching, maybe someone clip this, send it to them. You got your shit kicked in. It's over. It's over. Ohio State's going to kick your shit in too. Pack the season up. Pack the season up. Go with Aller. Go with Drew Allaire. Allaire. I can't say his name right now. It's Allaire. Drew Allaire. Just pack it up. It's okay. You're Penn State. You were never going to finish higher than third in the Big Ten East anyway. If you invest in your future, it'll pay dividends. Bench Clifford now. Not tomorrow. Not after Ohio State. Now. Now.
All right. Let's move on to the other games real quick here, Jared. Ole Miss beats Auburn 48-34. And we talked about Penn State demolishing Auburn earlier in the year. And Ole Miss beats them by 14 in this game.
Yeah, I didn't pay much attention to this game. Auburn kind of gave them a bit of a run. Whatever. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna completely shit on Ole Miss for it. Ole Miss is one of these teams, and there's a bunch of them. They're one of these teams who are in the top 10 because nobody else is there to put in the top 10. In most seasons, Ole Miss would be a real good number 15, but the middle of college football, anything past like the 5th or 6th team, they're basically all the same. And Ole Miss is just one of those teams.
Yeah, they're probably going to finish the season with one loss to Alabama.
I don't know their schedule, and I also don't want to.
LSU, Texas A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi State.
They'll drop another one. Like they should win all of those, except for one. But they'll drop another one, just cause attrition. Just because attrition.
All right, Texas narrowly escapes Iowa State 24-21.
Yeah, it turns out. I mean, like Texas is not back. I like Iowa State. I like their coaching staff. I like what they do there. This is a rebuilding year for them. This is a rebuilding year for Iowa State. Like you're not gonna get enough recruits at Iowa State that you're going to be good every year. Sometimes they need to pack the season in and develop for next year. And that's what they're doing right now. If Texas was properly back, they would have killed this Iowa State team. And like Texas is a much better football team with Ewers at quarterback. We have enough evidence of that at this point, but this was not a good Quinn Ewers game. He was not great. But whatever, like they're still trying to figure their shit out at Texas. I mean, this Texas team, I think we always knew was gunning for 2023. Mm-hmm. I think that's, I think everyone knew that.
Syracuse beats North Carolina State 24-9. So
NC State without Leary is done, period.
Yeah.
We can move on after that. NC State's done now. Leary, no NC State.
They have a good defense, but they don't have an offense led by their coordinator, Tim Beck. They don't stand a chance right now. Georgia defeats Vanderbilt 55-0.
Good job, Georgia.
Nothing more to be said there. All right. The big game here. Tennessee.
Yes.
Finally beats Alabama this century 52-49.
It was 15 years. I don't think it went all the way back to the 90s. I think it was 15 years. They don't
play them every year, Jared. They don't play them every year.
2006 is what Zach is saying.
Are you sure?
They kept saying 15 years. And Nomad is saying, yes, they do play each other every year. Dedicated cross rival. There you go. And they weren't saying a 15 game loss streak. They were saying 15 years. So, yes. Anyway, Kyle, it's fine. It's fine. We're moving forward. Yeah. Bama has a very suspect pass defense. We knew this. Alabama, while their offensive line is a great run blocking offensive line, they are not great at pass blocking. And we already knew this. Tennessee was just good enough to put it all together to actually finish the game. We saw Texas prove this. We saw Texas A&M prove this, but those teams weren't good enough, especially, again, if Texas hadn't lost Quinn Ewers part of the way through that game, I still think Texas wins that game. Bama just needed to face a team that was good enough to make them pay for not being good pass blockers, for not having good wide receivers, for not having a good secondary. Bama also only has Gibbs. I mean, Gibbs is amazing, and he's absolutely their best offensive threat. To say they only have Gibbs, I think, takes away from what Bryce Young brings to the team, because I do think Bryce Young is a very, very good quarterback. But I
mean, won the Heisman last year.
Yeah, but he's a very good quarterback. You can say blasphemy all you want, no, man. He's a very good quarterback. But when Bama's going to face a team with even a good secondary, his wide receivers aren't going to help him out.
Mm-hmm.
These are facts.
Yep.
Jameson Williams did not show up again this year.
No, he did not. All right. So moving on here, moving over to the Big 12, the Big 12 matchup. So we had the Big 10 matchup, SEC matchup. Now we have the Big 12. TCU beats Oklahoma State 43-40 in double overtime.
Yeah. It looked like Oklahoma State was going to run away with this game at one point. Looked like a total smash grab runaway. Yes, okay State did cover Nomad. You were correct about that. But this felt like a Big 12 game. I mean, quite frankly, the Alabama and Tennessee game also felt like a Big 12 game. Like, just if we're being honest, it's just sort of like defenses need not apply sort of football game. Lots of points scored at the very end of the games. It's just kind of how college football works sometimes nowadays, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming like a really big trope, a really big cliche of like whoever has the ball last, which is a shame. Like, I don't think we're watching the Alabama Tennessee game during the social screen in our Discord server, discord.thesloopcast.com. We were watching the game. A bunch of us were watching the game together. And man, like, we were actually strategizing at one point for Tennessee, Bama still had the ball inside their own territory. And we're all sitting there watching it going, I'd just let them score. And we were being dead serious. Like, if they pass the ball to Gibbs, just get the fuck out. Just fall over. You've been doing it all game anyway. No one would even suspect anything. He's been juking you out of your shoes all night. Just fall over. Let him score. Let him get the touchdown. Get the ball back with enough time for you to go get the touchdown. Then their kicker missed the field goal and everything worked out. And then Tennessee this is just a huge problem with not just Alabama, but college football as a whole. Tennessee had, was it 13 seconds? Something stupid like that. And they took the ball like 40 15 seconds, Nomad says. They took the ball something, Nomad, I might need your correction on this one again. Something like 40 yards in those 15 seconds to set up a field goal. How do we need more defensive backs in college football. It is so hard to play pass defense in college football nowadays.
It is. It really is. You have to do kind of like, you have to kind of create a shell.
I think they tried. I think is the problem.
All right. Sparty, Jared. This is a first for Ohio State this year. The team that Ohio State beat finally won the week after they get defeated by Ohio State. Sparty defeats Wisconsin 34-28 in double overtime.
Yeah, I'm a little sad to see the Buckeye curse fail. But as Kyle points out, Michigan State's the first team to not lose right after losing to Ohio State.
But the president resigned, so I count it.
I don't think the president resigns because of football. There are universities first. But you know what? Fuck it. Let's count it. Did take them 2 overtimes for what it's worth.
It did.
And Ohio State also beat Wisconsin at one point. So Ohio State, every opponent who's lost to Ohio State has turned around and lost the next week, assuming that other team wasn't also broken by Ohio State. It's not transitive properties. That's just adding additional qualifiers.
All right, let's move on to the next game here. LSU defeats Florida 45-35.
I didn't watch a second of this football game. I don't care.
You don't care. All right. Clemson.
I had Clemson and Florida State on one TV, and I had USC Utah on my laptop.
All right. Well, let's talk about Clemson and Florida State then, Jared. Clemson defeats Florida State 34-28.
Kyle, I needed it. I thought it was finally going to get on the board for our Choose Your Chaos competition. I needed it.
It was well out of reach here. I'm looking here. It was 34-14.
Yeah. Until it wasn't.
The fourth quarter, and Florida State made it a game. They made it a game in the fourth quarter, but not enough.
Couldn't quite close it.
Yeah.
I needed it though. I was watching. I never turned it off. I needed it.
All right. I'm going to run these last ones real quick here. Another ranked opponent here. Kentucky defeats Mississippi State 27-17. Did you watch any of that, Jared?
It was like a real Iowa football game for a long time. I just didn't care.
Yeah. End of the third quarter, it was 10-13.
It sure was.
All right. Notre Dame, Jared. Notre Dame loses to Stanford 14-16.
Kyle, what does Marcus Freeman need to do? Because I think they're not going to fire him at the end of the year. They're not going to fire him after his first year. What does Marcus Freeman need to do?
Score points.
To not be fired at the end of next season.
He needs an offense that could score points, because like defensively it's not that terrible, because they let up 16 in this one, they let up 20 in the previous one. UNC was just a big shootout. Let up 17 against Cal. They haven't been letting up like a terrible amount of points, but it's their offense that needs to get the ball rolling here. And
they no longer have their guy who was supposed to be their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
We need to point that out.
Yeah, yes. But I mean, that's going to hurt them on the offense, and their current quarterback is just not doing it. He was 13 for 27 in this game for 151 yards. That's not going to do it for you.
We touched on it briefly during the Monday episode because we got a little sidetracked, as we do sometimes. Most teams, the vast majority of teams in college football, don't have two quarterbacks.
Nope. And this is an example.
NC State doesn't have two quarterbacks. Notre Dame doesn't have two quarterbacks. Bama has a. We do though. Yes, we do, Nomad. Absolutely, we do. Thank Kyle McCord for not leaving. I mean, I don't know how great I'd feel about putting Brown on the field right now as a true freshman. I feel like that would be a pretty big downgrade. But as great as CJ Stroud is, and as much as I love him as the quarterback at Ohio State, I think Ohio State, if they needed to, could put Kyle McCord in and be back up to full strength in a couple games of just him getting his feet wet. Because Kyle McCord's that good.
All right, and the last game here. This is a team chaos here. Utah defeats USC, give them their first loss of the year, 43-42 off of a 2-point conversion late in the fourth quarter. They won.
Utah gets a late touchdown, and they said, "Nah, we're going to end it right here, one way or the other." And they went for two, and they got it. Hey, man, I've been saying it since the beginning of the year. USC is just Oklahoma with yellow trim.
Caleb Williams had a pretty good game. I'm looking at the stats here.
Caleb Williams? You mean the former Oklahoma quarterback?
Yeah, he put some yellow stripe on him. 381 yards and 5 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, despite what some people in our Discord server might have to say about the subject, Caleb Williams had a great game.
It's the defense that failed them. It's the defense. 43 points.
But that's just Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's the defense, Nomad. It's the defense. They have none. It's just Oklahoma all over again.
Yeah, they were averaging.
USC is Oklahoma with yellow trim.
6.5 yards per rushing attempt. But that's pretty good. But yeah, don't need to say any more. All right, so that's all the games I honestly care about to talk about in this one. So Team Chaos only took a couple here. But
it was hard because there really wasn't even that many like unranked teams playing ranked teams this week with all the bye weeks and with all of the rank on ranks.
There wasn't, but let's go ahead and get into our tier list after week 7. So first off the gate, Jared, let's remove some teams. Let's start by removing teams. So Alabama goes down to A tier.
Yeah.
And
Clemson,
USC.
Hold on. Let's focus on S tier. Clemson. Another close game against another unranked opponent. And we had teams in A tier. TCU, Tennessee, Michigan get some big wins. Can we justify keeping Clemson in S tier?
All right, hear me out.
Okay, Nomad says weak ACC will make college football playoff, but I don't think that's not the argument. Kyle and I are picking who we think are the best 4 teams.
Hear me out. Move up that team in yellow up to S tier.
I assume you mean this one and not UCLA.
Yes.
Okay.
Move that one up to S tier. And
I can't say no.
And swap out the 2 orange ones.
Once again, I assume you're not talking about Oklahoma State.
Correct. Yep.
Kyle, can you keep the audio? Kyle, can you please keep the audio listeners in mind?
All right. So we have Michigan up in S tier, and then swap Clemson down to A tier and Tennessee to S tier. So the S tier, I agree right there what Jared has. Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, and Michigan in your S tier.
In that order?
In that order. Yep.
Can I make a case for TCU?
No.
Okay.
All right, A tier. Move USC down to B tier.
After one loss?
Mm,
Well, you know, everyone.
Give me a good win. Give me a good win, and then you can go back to the A tier. But let's move them down to the B tier. I mean, you can put them where Penn State's at. So Penn State's there at the B tier. Penn State's there at the B tier, and then you can move them down, and then put USC right where Penn State was.
I mean, I don't care about ordering B tier. That's too much work. Nomad asks, how do you not include TCU after that win? Because we only put 4 teams in S tier. I think they deserve to be in S tier after that win. The question is not, do they deserve it? It's, do they deserve it more than Tennessee or Michigan?
Correct.
Now you say get rid of Michigan. Are you saying that because you're an Ohio State fan or because it's true? They just decimated Penn State. And again, I understand Penn State was not an actual top 10 team, but they were. And we can say that they didn't deserve to be and probably be right, but they were.
Yep. All right.
And it's not just that they beat them. It's that they totally dominated that football game. And it's because of that domination that I would put, because in my mind, Tennessee's 3. So I'm not even comparing TCU to Tennessee. I'm comparing them to Michigan. And the difference to me was that TCU beat Oklahoma State in 2 overtimes and Michigan ran Penn State completely off the field.
Yep,
that to me is the difference right now.
Yep. So A tier, Clemson, you can move Oklahoma State down to B tier. UCLA's A tier, Alabama's A tier. I think you got to move Ole Miss now to A tier. They're an undefeated team. I think you got to move them up to A tier.
Do we have to? I'm just saying we don't. I don't. I feel like 4 is an okay. I'm just saying. I'm going to say this. I think 4 is a perfectly okay and acceptable number to have at A tier. I don't think we need to feel obligated to move anyone into A tier. I'm just saying I don't have a set. We only have a set number for S tier.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it at that. But I think we should move 1 or 2 teams up. But Oklahoma State B tier. Ole Miss, we can come back to. NC State, you can move NC State. Syracuse, still undefeated. They stay in B tier for at least 1 more week here. I don't think Kansas State played, so they stay put. Same thing with Oregon. Kansas lost, so they go down. Mississippi State, I think they're fine at B tier. Wake Forest.
Hold on. Is that the second loss for Michigan State? It's the second loss for Michigan State, isn't it?
Michigan State. Oh, Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You are right.
Yeah, I know they lost at Kentucky, Nomad. I just was confirming that was their second loss.
Okay.
Wake did not play, so they're fine to stay where they are. And SC,
they're fine there, and I think USC is fine there as well. Man, dude, is there anybody that we can move around here?
Okay, so just for the audio folk, I want to catch the audio folk up. S tier, who we do put in order. It's the only tier that we actually put in order. We have Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, Michigan. Kyle, do you agree with that order?
Yes.
Okay, I agree. A tier, I'm not too worried about the order. We currently have TCU, Clemson, UCLA, and Alabama, which I think is fine. We could have a conversation about moving Ole Miss up. but I don't want to move them up just because they're undefeated. Because if we do that, then like Syracuse, who is Ole Miss's best win? What's Ole Miss's schedule?
That would be against Kentucky.
Second best win?
Auburn.
Third best win.
Georgia Tech or Vanderbilt.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. They can stay in B tier for now. They can stay in B tier for now. Syracuse can stay in B tier. Oklahoma State picks up their first loss. They're excellent in B tier. Kansas State, Oregon were already in B tier. They're in B tier. Same for Wake Forest. They were already there. They didn't play this week. They can stay. USC drops from A to B due to their loss. Every single team currently in A tier, with the exception of Alabama, is undefeated.
Yep. Let me list some teams with one loss. Okay. That we do not have up here.
Okay. So Kyle is now moving to teams that are not in our SA or B tiers.
Yep. All right. So a team that's on that cusp that could probably be on the B tier. So we'll start with Penn State, who just lost. Is there a case keeping Penn State at B tier?
They got decimated.
All right.
They'll get decimated against Ohio State in a couple weeks, and then we'll move them to M tier.
All right. The next team here is the Fighting Birds.
I think they deserve to be in B tier. A one-loss team picks up a good win against Minnesota. Who are their other wins?
Pulling that up right now. Virginia, Wisconsin, Iowa, that lovely Iowa game, and now Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the weaker B tiers, but I think they deserve B tier. But admittedly, one of the weaker ones.
All right. Next here, UNC. UNC is 6-1. With their best wins include that Virginia Tech and Miami. And they do have the loss to Notre Dame and that close win over in Boone against Appalachian State.
I'll move UNC over to the left of the C tier, but I'm not going to move them up.
All right, and the other one-loss team, which I'm fine not moving, is Tulane.
Tulane. Maybe we get some Group of 5 representation.
No.
Okay. Who are some of the best? So are those all of the one-loss teams accounted for then?
Yep. There are three, and there are three. Yeah, there are 3 2-loss teams that you can. I'm sorry, I forgot one. Cincinnati. There's Cincinnati as well.
Okay. So I have over here on the left. I think Texas is good over here on the left. I think Penn State, Mississippi State, Baylor and Minnesota. Should Baylor and Minnesota be on the left? Okay, I put
Cincinnati over there as well.
Okay.
Not in B tier, but they can kind of be like, okay, they have one Mario left, so
they're in the staging area.
All right, so 2 losses here. So
hold on real quick. Thoughts on Baylor and Minnesota, who we currently have in like the staging area over here?
I would say no to Baylor. Yeah, I would say no to Baylor. Baylor's gone. And who else? Oh, yeah, in Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota's gone as well, too, with the injuries that they've had, too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for them, but come on. Why? There we go. Okay. Baylor's a no. Since Nomad says Cincy should be in B. No. Zach says Utah back to B ?
I was getting to two losses here. And the first two loss here is Utah. They did pick up that win against USC. So they do have the loss against Florida in their first week. Bounced back and got some wins, and then lost previous week to UCLA and got the big win against USC now. I'd be fine putting them at the very back of B tier.
Kyle, is it fair to say that Utah is the best 2-loss team in the country?
Yes.
Does the AP reflect that out of curiosity?
It does.
If Utah is a B, so is Cincy. Who's who are Cincinnati's best wins?
You want to know Cincinnati's best win?
Yeah.
That would be the Hoosiers.
No, they do not get to go to B tier.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Utah has. They lost to Florida, and at the time we thought that was a good loss. In retrospect, it probably it wasn't.
Yeah.
It is difficult to go that many time zones at the beginning of the year, and I can give them a bunch of excuses. Do they deserve those excuses? I don't know. They lost to a UCLA team who was a top 10 team, and they picked up a top 10 win. How many teams can say they have a top 10 win right now? Not a lot.
Not many. All right, and
rankings are based off of preseason garbage expectations. In the beginning of the year, yes. That's why, I wouldn't even count Ohio State as having a top 10 win over Notre Dame. You can't in good conscience be like, Ohio State beat top 10 Notre Dame. You can't in good conscience say that. But USC was legitimately a top 10 team. And when I say legitimately a top 10 team, I mean by 2022 standards. I think they're actually a legitimate top 10 team by most standards. I think that they're a very talented team. They're Oklahoma. How many times do I got to say it? They are Oklahoma. They were always going to lose a game because they gave up too many points. That's just the Lincoln Riley modus operandi. You know what I mean? That's just what Oklahoma / USC does. It was in the cards. We knew it was going to happen. But that's still a very talented team. And they can still go and disrupt someone else's season. Hell, they only have one loss. They can still make waves with one loss, potentially, if they get some help.
In the last 2 lost teams, Jared, Kentucky, Texas, NC State, and Mississippi State, which I think can all stay where they're at right now.
So, well, let me at least do this. Kentucky on the left, Cincinnati on the left. We have Texas on the left. We have UNC on the left. We'll keep Penn State on the left for now in the staging area. We're calling this the staging area now. And who are the other?
NC State's the last one, but
they're done without Leary, unfortunately. It's unfortunate. I think NC State had a real opportunity to compete in the ACC this year. They were never going to make the playoffs. They were never going to go undefeated, but they had a real opportunity to make waves in the conference this year. And unfortunately, without Leary, that's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Gosh. I like this. I like this tier list right now. Definitely can look a lot different this time next week here, but yeah, I think this is good here. I saw a tweet today, Jared, from Joel Klatt.
Okay. I don't know if there's anyone in college football who I have a more internally polarized feeling about than Joel Klatt. Sometimes I really like him, and sometimes I wish he'd shut the fuck up. And I can hold both of those feelings inside the same minute.
Well, here you go, Jared. I think you have both of these feelings at the same time here. You ready?
Yeah.
There's a very real chance at the end of the conference championship games, you'll have a one loss Alabama team, a one loss Tennessee team, and a one loss Georgia team.
And a 1-loss Michigan team and a 0-loss Ohio State team. And I don't know, Clemson will probably also be undefeated just because the ACC is garbage.
Yeah.
And a 0-loss UCLA team and TCU, maybe. I don't think TCU is good enough to go undefeated. No. I think while the Big 12 is it's filled with a bunch of wildly inconsistent football teams, there's still a lot of talent in that conference.
Yeah.
They will take 3 SEC. No, they won't. Tennessee's not going to last. We all are really high on Tennessee right now, Kyle and I included, and we should be. They just knocked off Bama. It is not often that a team knocks off Alabama. Just doesn't happen all that often. So we're very high on them right now. But this is I'm going to say this. This is either the worst or it's in the top 3. It's in the top 3 of worst Alabama teams under Nick Saban.
And they're still a top team.
And they're still great. Which just says so much about Alabama and Nick Saban as a program and a coach. This is still easily a top 10 football team in the country right now. But by Alabama standards, by the standards that Alabama has set for themselves, this is a bad football team by Alabama standards. This would also be like the best team that Tennessee has had since the 90s if they were Tennessee. Just how shit works.
All right, Jared. I think that is it. I think that is this week's Collegiate Chaos. I think we can I think we'll wrap it up and we will catch you all later on Thursday as we get to know our enemy.
Yeah, I was talking a bit about how we were all watching the game together in the Discord server. Nomad, we can hit a couple questions. Kyle, let's turbo
real quick here, Jared.
Turbo the questions.
Nomad asks, does Matt Campbell slide a state over and take the Nebraska job next year?
We were talking about this during the social screen. Basically the topic of conversation was, and this is wild to say this, especially for anyone who's as old as me or Kyle or Nomad. Is that an upgrade? Is going from Iowa State to Nebraska an upgrade? And a lot of people were saying no during the conversation. And a lot of people are currently saying no in the chat. But here's the thing. Yes. Because Nebraska knows what conference Nebraska's going to be in 5 years. Can Iowa State say the same thing?
That's true. That's
why Nebraska is a better job. And by the way, can pay a lot more money.
Is Bert for real? Asks Nomad.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Another question from Nomad. After 6 games, is 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions a good stat for a starting quarterback?
2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Jeez. Is that Iowa?
That's got to be Iowa's quarterback.
Yeah. No. Right. The answer to your question is no.
All right. Gangland here says, is there still a realistic scenario now where less than 2 SEC teams get into the college football playoffs, bearing chaos upsets, which of course can still happen?
Listen.
Is there a realistic...
Go ahead, Kyle.
I'm going to say at this point right now, I think you're looking at two SEC teams. I mean, you're looking at 2 of the 3, Alabama, Tennessee, or Georgia. 2 of those 3 are getting in, bar any kind of chaos. So I think it's going to be like an Ohio State, 2 of those 3, and then throw in if UCLA runs the table here, something like that.
I disagree. If UCLA, and I think they can, remains undefeated, I think that's a great case to be made. I think you can say the same thing about TCU. And by the way, what if Michigan's only loss is a close one to Ohio State by the end of the year?
I mean, there is that, but the thing that you're going to look at is, again, a lot of it, it's going to be biased toward what they were ranked and when and all that. But you'll look at the teams that Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama played, and you're going to look at, the teams that they played, they have a high ranking next to them.
Let me just say this. We did not witness Bama's last. We saw their first. We did not see their last loss of this regular season. This is a very flawed Alabama team. They're going to lose again.
All right.
Whether that be in the SEC championship game or during the regular season, I don't know, but we will see them lose again. Second,
right, and the last question,
we will not see Tennessee be undefeated. And we will also not see Tennessee end the season with 1 loss. They're going to lose multiple times between now and the SEC championship game. Tennessee is a very good football team, but they aren't run the schedule good. They beat a very flawed Alabama football team.
All right. That's all the time we have for today, Jared. Let's go ahead and end today's episode.
They're the A&M of last year. I agree, Nomad. So we were talking a bit about talking about how we were watching the Alabama-Tennessee game and a bunch of the other 3:30 games. We had a bunch of them up on the screen during our social screen. You can be a part of our social screen if you join our Discord server. You can go to discord.thesloopcast.com. If you don't know what a Discord server is, it's kind of like a gated social media. It's like a group chat. It's like having all your friends in a text message thread, right? It's a little gated social media place that we keep incredibly well moderated. We keep trolls out. There's no drama or confrontations or anything like that. So it's less toxic, significantly less toxic version of whatever message board or social media place where you currently experience your college football. So if you're looking for a place to chat with people who are only giving like level-headed commentary and people aren't going for outrage clicks, if you're looking for a more pleasant social media experience for communicating with fellow college football fans, especially Ohio State fans, come join our Discord server. And by the way, anyone in the Discord server can watch football games with us. Now, the patrons at $3 tier or higher, $3 a month or higher, the patrons get voice privileges during the social screen games. Or higher. Yes, Nomad, or higher. They get voice privileges so we can actually, like on a group call, talk to each other. But also, you can just sit there and watch and listen as we watch and talk about the games for free. That part's totally free. So yeah, you can go to patreon.thesloopcast.com and help support the show. This is not cheap. All of this shit that we do, either in money or time. Computer equipment's expensive and software is expensive. So you could help us out a lot with just $3 a month, which, by the way, you can pay a full year up front and it gets you something like a 12% discount, I believe. So you can even save money on that $3 a month. It's even cheaper. And you don't have to worry about like a monthly reoccurring thing, even if it's only $3, right? So, because I know I'm trying to keep those monthly recurrings down. I know we all are. It's like, has anyone in here done the $3 tier recently for a full year? I think it comes out to like $32, $33, $34, something like that. And whatever. And you can be an advertiser. You can. You know what? Thank you, Nomad. Also, if you're looking to advertise on the Sleepcast, if you have a small business, feel free to hit us up and we can talk about advertising on the Sleepcast. All right. That's it. That's the end of the show. You have done it, Nomad. Nomad used our advertising feature simply to make me say things last year. It was an expensive choice, but it was also funny. So I give him credit for that. Kyle, that's it. That's the end of the show. Do you have anything you want to add on before we hop out?
Watch the transfer portal here. Freshman wide receiver Marcus Allen.
I just saw your DM, asshole.
Is in the has announced that he's going to the transfer portal. So keep an eye on Marcus Allen.
There you go. All right, that's the end of the show. Tonight's ending band will be the Ohio Weather Band, and they're a folksy band from, I think, like the Athens area of Ohio, if I remember correctly. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course support your local podcasters. Once again, this is the Ohio Weather Band.